Good afternoon. My name is Umi Ahmed Mikidash. You are listening to the podcast, Your Voice. Today, my guest is Nomavenda Mathiane, a former journalist, witness to apartheid regime in South Africa. 30 years after the end of this hard period, Nomavenda Mathiane and the entire South African population are heading to the polls. These are the most challenging national and provincial elections since the end of the apartheid. These elections aim to elect a new National Assembly and state legislators. The ruling party, the Nelson Mandela Party, the African National Congress, might lose according to observers. Nomavenda Mathiane stresses on Your Voice that she is not a politician. However, as a former journalist, she thinks the party failed to respond to the South African needs. She is nearly 80 years old. As a reporter during the apartheid regime, she struggled to walk, but she was part of the journalists who witnessed and suffered the June 16, 1976 Youth Soweto Uprising. For those who do not know, this riot was a high school students' protestation for better education. On Your Voice, Nomavenda Mathiane points out her challenges during the apartheid regime. She raises concern regarding the governance in South Africa today. She is a novelist, always seeking the truth by introducing her own story, which is also the issue of the blacks in South Africa, the land ownership. You are listening to Your Voice with Nomavenda Mathiane. I am Umi Ahmed Mikidash. Good afternoon. My name is Umi Ahmed Mikidash, and you are listening to Your Voice with Nomavenda Mathiane, a former journalist witness to the apartheid regime. 30 years after the end of the apartheid, South Africa is looking ahead to its 7th national election, the national and provincial elections. And we have the pleasure to have you, Mrs. Mathiane. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me and thinking of me.
Thank you very much. We know that you are busy, even if you are retired, but we are very, very happy to have you after so many years.
Wonderful.
You are a writer now, and in 2016, yes, and in 2016, you wrote a book called Eyes in the Night, an untold Zulu story. Why did you write this book at that time, 2016? And you are a journalist for so many years. You were a journalist for so many years.
Well, I knew about this story when I was a journalist, but I didn't have the time to go out and research. And what made me write the story is because so much has been written about the 1879 war that took place between the English and the Zulus. English attacked the Zulus in their homesteads, and nothing has come out from Zulu pens, which means no Zulu had written a book about the war. So I felt that I should highlight the impact of the war on ordinary Zulu people and how this war changed the history of the Zulu people as well as South Africa.
And how it changed?
From a Zulu perspective.
I see. But how did it change the Zulu? You said that this book is about the perspective of how the Zulu should see the war, and how they see the world, and how they see African as a Zulu. How actually this war changed the Zulu perspective?
Well, a lot happened. For one thing, the Zulus lost their land. The English took the land from the Zulu people. Zulu people were pushed out to the north of Zululand, where it was not arable, where there is poor soil, and people lost their land. There was famine in the land. Up to today, Zulus have not recovered that land.
The Zulu didn't take their land back after the apartheid regime?
No, that land is still owned by white farmers. Zulu people were moved from that part of the world.
You said that the Zulu people did not take their land back since the end of the apartheid regime. How come?
Because the English collaborated with the Boers, and they formed the Union of South Africa, and they kept the borders that were created by the English people. The English people created new borders when they won over the Zulus in 1879.
So it's about the colonization
by
English in South Africa, and the Boers took it. But after the apartheid, there was this policy, this black economic empowerment, which is in the constitution.
Why?
This policy did not help to have this land back, and also do this policy has a role in the ownership of the land in South Africa for the Zulu people?
No, BEE has got nothing to do with the land. BEE should be addressing the economic problems of the country. So the land is a different issue. There's a Land Act which should be looking out for redressing the problems created by the taking of the land from black people. So that's another matter.
I understand, but if you look at what is at stake now related to food security, economy aspect, black economic empowerment, I think for me, it's linked. So how can you separate the land with the food? And my question is, today, there is these challenges with the ANC, and the people I interviewed told me that there is this policy of black economic empowerment, but it did not target all the
Disadvantaged
people. But you mentioned that it's very important to raise awareness on this land ownership. My question is, how actually you don't link the two policy, even if they are separate, and why the youth and how the youth can take this information and understand that actually to have food security, you have to have the land, and to have your job, you have to take this policy of black economic empowerment and understand it.
You are simplifying the problem. South Africa is a constitutional state, and whatever happens is guided by what the constitution says must happen. For the government to distribute the land again, they have to go through the laws created in the constitution. Yeah. So it's not just waking up one morning and say, give blacks the land.
Yeah, all it's about the constitution, I understand. But the black economic empowerment is in the constitution. So now in your book, you said that the people should be proud to be South African, and you said that they have to be proud of themselves. How you think your book can help the researcher to raise awareness on this issue on land ownership and also food security?
Well, first of all, I must correct you. Although my book deals with Zulu problems, the problems of the time in Zululand, the problems that are in my book are all over South Africa. So I would like you to just look at the issue as a Zulu people's issue. It is a national issue. All over, black people want their land back. And there are some who've been given their land back. But, for instance, in many parts of what used to be the Transvaal, people were moved from where they were living. And now they've been given their land back. They've gone back to where they were living. It's not just a Zulu issue, but you know South Africa is big,
Yeah.
and it was divided into many provinces. So every province has got a problem, a land problem.
And this is actually an issue. The issue of the land is also all over Africa. But for South
It's
Africa,
all over the world.
all over the world.
The Palestinians are fighting the Jews because of what? Because of land. Ukraine is a war. Basically, it's about land. It's about ownership. Yes.
But related to South Africa, my question is how you do think this solution can be found? Because you said that for the Transvaal they found a solution, they take back their land. How about the other?
It was not a solution. Part of the land was given to the people. So they are busy looking at issues, how they can deal with the problem. They're giving the land back in piecemeals. The government has to buy the land from the farmers, who some of them are living outside South Africa. There is derelict land that's lying idle, but it belongs to people. And there's also land that belongs to the state. So it's not an easy problem to solve.
I see. And you, how about you? Because you said that it is the information from your family, your great-grandmother. How do you find yourself with this issue? Do you have a land ownership that actually you want to reclaim?
No, I don't, because my grandmother was from my maternal. I'm talking about my maternal grandmother. So it was not my side of my people. So whoever has to make claims, it is my mother's people, my cousins. They are the ones who can make the claim for the land.
Okay.
Not me.
Okay, it's like that with the tradition, your tradition, the Zulu tradition.
Yes.
Oh, I see. And do you think that your family will reclaim it or not?
I don't think they're in a position to reclaim it, because at the time there were no title deeds. And as I'm talking to you, we don't quite know where my grandmother used to live. My grandmother spoke of our home was next to the mountain. The shadow of the mountain fell onto our side. So how do you claim when there is no tangible proof where our grandmother used to live?
I see. Tell me, Nomavenda, how do you integrate the tradition in the urbanization? I mean, you talk about the Zulu tradition, all this perspective, but how do you integrate it in this urbanization? Because it's quite rural. The tradition is from the village and all the people, the chief. How do you integrate it now?
Our tradition is an integral part of our lives. You know, you are a Muzulu, you are a Musutu, you are a Mutsonga. You have got one foot in your tradition and one foot in urban or modern life. So it's not a question of deciding that you are now becoming a Muzulu, or you're becoming an urban person. For instance, Black people have kept the tradition of lobola. That is bride, what people loosely call bride price, and I'm against that description. But there are certain things that we've kept. Even when we live in the urban areas, there are traditions that we respect and that we still respect and do. Like, for instance, when a girl is 21, there's a tradition that is called umemulo, where we make a party for her to say coming out of age, such things. Even when we bury our people, we bury them half as Christian. We take the Christian and the African values with. So we divorced from our traditional way of life.
I see. And how do you see yourself, and what do you want the youth understand when they read your book?
The main purpose of the book is to tell them what happened. Because unless you know what happened in the past, you cannot correct the present. You cannot direct the future. So when you know that, this is what happened. This is why Zulu people live this side of the river. And this is why Zulu people don't have commercial farms. They are now in the hands of the white people. You must know the reason why. And the book goes a long way to explain that. To explain the role played by the Zulu king, to explain the role played by his subordinates, to explain why the war was fought at such areas, for instance, in Isandlwana, and how the Zulu palace was torched. Such things to tell the young people that this is how it happened. We did not just become poor one day. We had dynasties, we had kings, we had a king, and there were smaller kings after him. So we were an organized community. But that is not only for the Zulu people, even for the Basotho, even for the Batonga. We were organized people, even the Bapedis. One of the kings of the Bapedi, Sikukuni, had running wars with the Boers. So it's not just the Zulus, it's a history of black people in South Africa.
Tell me, how did you become a journalist?
Interest. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to tell stories. I used to tell stories in the newspaper. Now I am a novelist. Now I write books. Me, it's storytelling.
Storytelling. You experienced many things as a journalist, especially this Soweto student riot in 1976, my year of birth. Sorry.
Oh, you were born in 1976?
Yes, I was born in 1976. Yeah, and so
when we were busy fighting white people, you were being born.
It's true. Yes. and this is actually, I wanted to see your country. That is why I studied in South Africa. I wanted to understand, and I wanted to understand investigative journalism also. And I found this article of you. You were mentioned in this article. It's a piece of article, The National Sunday Times. It was about you addressing the Human Rights Commission inquiry into racism in the media.
The TRC, Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Yes, and it was on on September 2000, and you were saying that there is actually also not the status of black women in the media were not quite clarified. You as a journalist, my question is, how do you find yourself being a black woman working with this nation about building South Africa and understanding development in South Africa?
That question has got so many questions. As a black woman journalist, it wasn't easy. We had triple whammy. There was a white person on top, white male on top who were the editor and the news editor, and then below him would be the female white bosses, and then under that there would be the black male bosses. So it wasn't easy. But we had to navigate, our career in that kind of situation.
And you said that you've seen many things during the apartheid regime. How did you manage to not forget, but how did you manage to walk and find your way to be with everyone during this time?
Well, we must remember that during those days, we lived in black areas. So we were a community. It didn't mean that because you were a journalist, you were removed from the situation. You were still a sister, you were a mother, you were an aunt, living in the townships, with all the other people. So the problems that we faced, we did not just face problems as journalists, but we faced problems as black people and as black women. There was also the social taboos. There were some people who just didn't believe that as a woman journalist, you were fit enough to interview them. Would you understand the problems as a woman journalist? And also, as a woman journalist, you were affected by what was going on. Young children at high schools, they were being detained, they were being thrown into jail, they were being killed. So you were affected. And this was the story that we were writing about.
During the apartheid, you were in communities, I understand. But after the apartheid, how did you work? How did this transition work, actually? How, as a journalist, you became not in the community also, but you were with the white, you were with all these people of the country to work freely?
For me, that was one of the most exciting periods of South Africa, because there we were building a new country. And even if the leaders knew what they were doing, many of us were fumbling. Now we're exposed to, as black people during apartheid, we were not allowed to go into parliament because we're not voting. So we saw parliament as a building for white people. Now suddenly we have a democracy. Now suddenly, as writers, as journalists, we have to report on parliamentary issues. We have to attend parliamentary meetings like portfolios. So it was a new ball game, and it was exciting. It was a new world that was unfolding before us, and some of us were lucky to be part of that world which was unfolding.
What is the best experience you have when you were a journalist? Which newspaper actually you found that it was easy for you to express yourself and finally tell all the information that wanted to tell to the people?
Well, it's not quite true that one can tell all the information that wants to tell, because there are laws that guard the media. You cannot say certain things. But I'll tell you what was exciting for me was to report on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, because here we were reporting, this was in the New Democracy, we're now reporting about what had happened, the people who had disappeared, the people who had been killed. We're face to face with the white people who had harassed black activists. We saw their faces now, and we saw them. Some of them were remorseful, some of them were denying. So writing that story for me, coming face to face with people who had harassed black people, writing the story that now we are free to write as journalists and not being harassed, for me that was something.
You were seen as an opposition when you were a journalist during the apartheid, and that time when the apartheid regime ended, you had the possibility to write, but you have to take into account the law. What does that mean?
Yes. Well, I mean, like we have to be careful about libel. Even if you know that, a certain white person killed so and so, you can't just say that. There must be a process that proves that what you are saying is true.
See.
So I'm thinking of those laws.
Yes, understand you. Nomavenda, you are nearly 80. And
I am 80 end of the year.
Yes.
I'm going to be an octogenarian.
Yes. And you are going to be octogenarian. And we are happy for you, and we are happy to have you. And I think you are also happy 30 years after the end of the apartheid to vote again. But I have this question. What do you think of what ANC becomes?
ANC has lost their marbles, but it is to be expected. I mean, in life, something is born, it grows, and it dies. You know, it's a natural process of living. I say ANC is going through a natural process of being alive. They ushered in liberation, and now their time has come to give others a chance.
Okay, so you mean that ANC should move, and now there is another party who should come instead of ANC?
Other parties must come.
Other parties must come.
Young people must take over now and chart the way forward.
Why?
Well, a lot has happened. You know, they've messed up a lot. You know, there's been corruption, there's been all sorts of problems in the country. I mean, right now we are talking and we're undergoing load shedding. So some of the problems they cannot solve. There are people who are claiming that they can self-correct. But in my view, you know, I want to see young people coming up and taking the baton and moving South Africa to a better place.
Moving South Africa to a better place. Tell me, do you think that the black economic empowerment is the right policy for South Africa?
I'm not sure if it is the right policy because for me, if black economic empowerment meant giving black industrialists money to create wealth, to create opportunities, I would support it. But as things stand, black economic empowerment just gave a few black people money, and what did they do? They became billionaires, and they did not change the economy of the country.
I see. And how about this woman policy? Because it's targeted also. It should target the woman, the colored, the Indian too, plus the blacks.
What woman policy?
The black economic empowerment, it was implemented to help also the historical disadvantaged people, which means the women also.
I don't know any woman who benefited from black economic empowerment.
Really?
No, I don't know any woman who benefited.
Okay. I thought, and you were not part of this.
Of black economic empowerment?
Yes.
I'm not.
So you raised yourself?
Of course.
I see. But
I'm on my own.
You're on your own.
Steve Biko said, black men, you're on your own.
Related to, you said, Steve Biko, Cyril Ramaphosa is one of the people who have this black economic empowerment story. And if I do remember, the business day was not owned by Cyril Ramaphosa.
Not Cyril Ramaphosa as such, but they were a conglomerate.
Yes, it's true. So now that you said that the black economic empowerment is not the right policy, for you, as you know, as you see all the young people with unemployment, what is the solution for the youth in South Africa today?
The solution for South Africa is to build the economic cake to be big so that everybody can find work and everybody can live in comfort. South Africa is a very rich country. We've got mines, we've got land, we've got sunshine, we've got everything. But, you know, the wealth is still in the hands of white people. A few white people. So what we need is just to dismantle that and have everybody participate.
You said that the wealth is still with the white people, but you also said...
It's still in the hands of the white people.
It's still in the hand of the...
mines.
We own the mines. But the thing is, I don't understand. If actually the white people own still the mines, so they have all the money of the country, how come people are angry against the ANC and said that the ANC don't manage quite well the country, if actually the money is not with the black but with the white people who are actually the ones who take advantage historically? I don't understand. Can you
You
explain me?
just answered yourself. Everything is still in the white hands. And this is why black people are angry to say 30 years, we are still poor. We still don't have houses. We have got shacks. We live in shacks. We still don't get water. We still don't get electricity. We still don't have an equitable health system.
Dewi Root, I interviewed today, said that this lack of infrastructure is because of poor management from the ANC, and it is because of also the lack of skills in these local authorities and people who are placed because of this black economic empowerment. And you just said that it is because the power is still with the whites. So I don't understand.
You didn't understand me. I was talking about economic advancement.
Yeah. So
that the country, the economy of South Africa is still in the hands of white people.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes. The government is not able to change because it has not changed the laws of the country that enable black people to enter the economic terrain.
I see. But you know everything related to the past and the present. Why you don't take your advice to the people who can be helped in this regard?
I'm not a politician, I'm a writer.
You're just a writer. You've decided to become a writer because you didn't want to become to integrate the political parties?
I'm not a politician. You have to be wired in a certain way to be a politician.
You have to be what? Sorry?
Wired.
Okay. So, and just a question, no one asked you, Nomavenda Mathiane, you should become one of our calling in our party?
They know me.
They know you, and they ask you to be part of them?
They know me that I would never work with them.
Why?
Because I'm not a politician.
You're not.
There are certain things that I would not tolerate.
If, for instance?
No, I wouldn't lie to the people.
You wouldn't lie to the people. Yeah.
No.
And this is why actually when you wrote your article, when you wrote your story as a novelist, you always tell the truth and always ask what the people should do or not.
And ask uncomfortable questions.
Tell me, back to your book. I want to understand. And actually, I want to know something. When you write this book, did you think that the young people will read it and will become a politician, a journalist, someone who can build the country?
No, that was not what I was thinking of. What I was thinking of was to write so that people must understand what happened in Zululand in 1879 and why Zululand is the way it is today.
I understand. You are an author of another book, and I didn't read this book, but I found it, Beyond the Headlines in South Africa, Diary of Troubled Times.
Troubled times, yes. That one was looking at the problems in the townships during the struggle days. I want to reprint it.
Yes, it would be interesting to read it
because it's out of print.
And what is the lesson learned of this book?
No, that book talks about what was happening during the struggle. On days like work stay away, on days like don't buy from white shops, you know what happened. School boycotts.
Today it is Cyril Ramaphosa. I know you said that you're not a politician, you're a novelist. What do you think of Cyril Ramaphosa? Because I have a question related to him directly, because I understand that there is things that people like Cyril Ramaphosa, but the ANC regime is not, the ANC party is not the party that people want anymore, if I do understand. But you...
I'll tell you something.
Tell me.
I'll tell you something. Cyril has disappointed us. You know, we had high hopes that Cyril would usher in a new dawn. He has disappointed us.
In which way?
Because he hasn't changed. You know, he didn't bring any good thing to the ANC and to the country.
And who do you should do it if it is not him?
Whoever takes over the country, you know, there must be. I mean, Mandela brought us, ushered in a new government. Mbeki was good with the economy, you know, and Zuma killed South Africa. What's his name? Cyril has done nothing.
Do you still have hope of...
Of course I have hope. Hope springs eternally in the human breast. Hope. And I know South Africa is going to bounce back.
And South Africa for you is still a rainbow nation?
It has never been a rainbow nation because there's no black streak in the rainbow nation. In the rainbow. It was never a rainbow nation. It's still a divided country with those who have lots and those who have nothing.
Tell me, I heard a baby next to you. You said that...
I'm a granny.
I know. Congratulations. But you said that this rainbow nation doesn't exist. And this is actually the thing that it's portraying outside South Africa. Even if we have the information of the violence, job and employment, what is the message you want to share with your relatives and with your people related to this? Because you said that there is no rainbow nation. What is the solution to have this rainbow nation?
The question: do we want a rainbow nation? We just want a nation.
You just want a nation.
Why do people talk of America as a rainbow nation? They don't.
Thank you for accepting to have this conversation with your voice, with me, Umi. And I wish you all the best for tomorrow and for all your books. I repeat again, your book is a book which was published in 2016.
Yes.
And the name of the book is Eyes in the Night.
Eyes in the Night.
An Untold Zulu Story.
Zulu story.
We used to have our guests and asking them if they are from Africa or other parts of the world. We used to ask them to give us a sentence in their own language. I want to have your message to our audience, to our listeners in Zulu. Could you?
Yes. Humi, ngijabulile ukukhuluma nawe. Kusasa siyovota. Sivotela ikusasa elisile eliqhakazile. I'll translate that for you.
Please.
I said, Humi, I'm happy to have spoken to you. Tomorrow we're going to vote. Our vote is about a better South Africa.
Your voice is a podcast on sustainable development. All the 17 goals. So it's very important for us to raise awareness of what is at stake. And it is very important to have you more than 20 years after I met you. Thank you, Nomavenda.
Thank you.
It was Your Voice with Nomavenda Mathiane. I am Umi Ahmed Mikidash.